Cool. So welcome all to e-commerce website office hours. This is the first one we're trying of this. Just to let people know, we're recording this session. We will be uploading it to YouTube later, so if people can't make the call, they can watch it later on. But if you're not comfortable, drop off now or watch the live stream link, which I've also shared. So then your details won't come up as actually being on the meeting. If I just quickly introduce myself, my name is Alan Kent. I came from Australia about 9 years ago now. Joined eBay initially, and then was at Magento for a number of years as well. And now at Google, I'm a developer advocate. I'm focusing on the web and working with platforms such as Shopify and Magento and so forth, and just encouraging adoption of good web technologies. Cheney, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself?
Sure. Great to meet everyone. My name is Cheney Tai, also a Googler for the past 6 years or so, where I spent my time as a web ecosystem consultant. And what that means is I get the pleasure of being a partner engineer, working with some of the internet's top sites in e-commerce, travel, retail, etc., to help them kind of solve challenges through the web.
Cool. And so just as a little bit of background about this series before we get jumping into it, I'm just going to get rid of this other window. That can go away. Okay, so a little bit of background about this series is not long back I did an interview with about 20 agencies, and they tended to be in the Magento space. And a common problem that came up through those discussions was, hey, sometimes it's hard to ask Google questions. And so one of the goals of these series is to and provide that channel. And so what I plan to be doing, there's an awful lot to talk about in e-commerce, and so I plan to invite somebody else along from Google and have a particular focus for each session. I'm not going to be doing anything like recommending which product you should be using if it's not a Google product. I can be sharing information about Google products, but others are welcome to share some information. But this is really for developers, and the focus will be, one, on answering questions on Google products, and two, talking about web technologies in general, and just trying to promote good technologies to help people do the web, be better on the web, basically for e-commerce. Now, that was a purpose. Now, obviously, the world's changed fairly rapidly from just in the last week or two. And so what we're going to do for this meeting was not the original plan, but one of the things I'm encouraging is if people have got any tips, any projects they're doing to help e-commerce on the web. And so we're going to open it up for some free time. If that uses up the whole meeting, that's absolutely fine. In which case, I'm not going to be talking about Google technologies at all or answering questions in that area. And we're just going to play this by ear a little bit. If I know there's some projects, several have reached out to me already, and I'm hoping some people from those projects are here. If you want to talk or share about one of your projects, if you can put a message in the chat to say, hey, I would like to talk about that, that will help us make sure we don't miss anybody. So if you're in the actual meeting. But the long-term goal is to have, we might try for weekly. If there's not enough content, we'll move to bi-weekly and so forth. But I plan to get various different Googlers from different teams internally around, and maybe start inviting some external people to talk about particular topics and be able to answer questions. And so I'm planning to get some people from the Google Ads team and from various other teams. So that's the overall goal of the series. This first episode hopefully will be a little bit different. In terms of, I'm just trying to think of any other things. Now, the audience for this series is intended to be e-commerce developers. If there's a lot more interest, for example, to help businesses instead, I might spawn up a separate sort of series and we'll have a slightly different focus. But the goal of this particular series is to help developers. And by that, I mean people working at agencies, building the merchants' websites. People working for the actual platforms directly are also welcome, of course. But there's a lot more people working at agencies than there are actually in core teams. And it's the agencies is the primary focus for these series. So in terms then of, I think we just go for it and open it up. Feel free to jump in. It is meant to be more of an open format. I'm not planning to do detailed presentations in these sessions. We might kick off in the future with a few slides here and there, but it really is just to get some discussion going and answer questions. I do notice there's some things in the chat already.
Yeah, I believe Paul jumped in with some comments around offline to on and another link. So maybe Paul, we can start with you.
Can you hear me? Am I okay? Good, thanks. I'm always surprised when it's successful. So I have I'm interested in just kind of finding out what else is going on there, and also letting people know what I'm working on. I think I'm seeing a lot of projects to help small, medium-sized businesses, and a lot of them have a different focus. So some are focused on people that are already online and helping them improve their business, because so many people are relying on e-commerce right now, and especially smaller merchants. But I'm currently in part of the offline to on, I guess, coalition, if you want. And as far as that goes, that's really sort of trying to match up people who are willing to help merchants with merchants, and most of them are people trying to get online quickly, either through one of, and it's platform agnostic. It's like not that big of a I think a burden to anyone. And then the other one, which I'm sort of trying to implement as an offshoot of that, is there are a lot of small, medium businesses that are very local. They don't have websites, in part because they are so local, but people cannot come to their stores right now. And the thing that I'm trying to work on, but I'm going to need some help with, is putting together a very easy, very, very limited e-commerce platform. And it could be an existing platform. I know we've had some interest from maybe adapting a Magento for that, but also BigCommerce. So far, Shopify has kind of declined to support it. But what we're looking for is an easy way to get merchants online, but it's going to require some community activism. So there's also this aspect of needing to get the word out to people in local communities, many of whom are home. They may not have much to do right now anyway, and have them reach out to local businesses in their area that they know would qualify. And giving them a way to get on, and then also providing a platform for answering questions. And this could be as easy as maybe doing something on GitHub. Maybe there's something on Google we could do, but where people could submit essentially a support request and a phone number, and then we can have people who have volunteered to assist these businesses. In part, the staff at my agency, who has volunteered to do this in their off hours. Fortunately for us, we're still busy, but they could help answer questions for merchants, help them get online, and just sort of maybe providing a queue for that sort of thing. But the idea is that it would be very limited into only local delivery. There would be no delivery platforms involved. Not taking payment online necessarily, just creating orders, and really only having 2 delivery mechanisms. So local delivery, and some places you could still do pickup, especially if you're a restaurant. So like, a perfect use case for this would be a small specialized restaurant in a local market that only has, say, like a WordPress site, or like a Wix site or something, homepage. If we could easily, quickly spin something up, it would help them manage requests for deliveries for pickup. They can put those online as products, sell them online, but then payment would be taken sort of afterwards. So, okay, in a nutshell, that's it.
Sure. So one question for So I think there's two projects you mentioned. One is the offline to
Right.
on.com, and
Right.
the other one is your own particular project. If people for your own particular area of interests wanted to reach you, how would they contact you?
Yeah, right now the best way is at Twitter on Rizzolio, but we're setting up a page for people to sign up, people with different talents to sign up. It's not ready yet, but contact us on Twitter right now. And it's just at Rizzolio, Razzoio, if you're interested in helping us out, and we'll keep you informed.
Cool. Could you put your Twitter handle in the chat too, then, and then
Yeah,
people get the right spelling. Is there anybody from like a more of official spokesman for the offline to on.com site?
This is Ben Marks.
Hey, Ben.
How's it going, Alan?
I'm good. And
How's it going? Paul? So, I mean, I guess I'm an admin of the Slack channel. That is, I think, about as official as we get in that project. It really was put together started by Karen Baker from Shipper HQ, which is a shipping logistics offering that goes cross-platform. So she's been a passionate member of e-commerce since 2008, since the early days of Magento. And, it was great just to see her use her connections, and then to see all the different platforms come in, and we work right alongside each other. There's some really sharp people in there, just making sure that the intake is as efficient as possible, and that merchants are connected with the channels that they need to get connected with.
Could you give a quick overview of what the project is and what the goals are then?
Yeah, I think, well, so the inspiration is people are hurting, and where e-commerce, and then the assumption, I guess the hypothesis is that where brick and mortar stores especially might have been thinking about getting online in the near term, or just hadn't really worked it out just yet, that now, well, if they're going to stay open, or if they're going to survive this, that the only chance they have is to make an online play. And that was, and then also kind of going along with that, the realization that there are going to be different categories of merchant. I mean, actually, kind of, if you'll apologize, and hopefully my employer will forgive me here. I mean, if you're a small, like single store, and you need to get online within 24, 48 hours, then you have SaaS players like Shopify and BigCommerce that their product fits that the immediacy and everything right there. And then basically we just want to make sure that merchants are well taken care of. I say again, we in this case refers to people working in each of these different product ecosystems, right? I mean, kind of living up to what I think should be our collective mantra, which is that, the merchant and their customers are what matter. And right now that is as true as ever.
So if people wanted to get involved and try and help, I mean, I've been impressed. I'm on the Slack channel there, and it's sort of like, it looked like it started on the weekend. It's got 400, 500 people, and like CEOs and lots of big names, all happy to help. And I think that the challenge there is more how to harness and get all this sort of power to be effective.
Yeah, I think like most, like many service and software operations, it's going to come down to project management and making sure that people are just able to communicate as quickly as possible. Although what you mentioned about CEOs being brought in, that's a good example of some of the network effect there. So Karen, just through the years and through her passion for e-commerce, has been able to bring in several CEOs. And I think these are people, my old CEO from Blue Acorn here in Charleston, Kevin is in there, and I've seen several other CEOs jump in. And these are people who I think young or even experienced businesses might be able to rely on and say like, hey, how do I bridge this? What do I do with my employees? So they can actually seek some balm for their for the back of house stuff that's going on. Yeah, it's super inspiring to see what happens, and we just have to make sure that the people there are supported, and we're staying on top of all the requests coming in. And I will be really interested to see how this experiment, how these services benefit, so that we might be able to ramp something like this up more quickly in the future. But for sure, with this group of people together, I'm sure there will be some product and service offerings that grow out of this. It would be odd if they don't.
Cool. And I noticed Paul's been dropping into the chat channel some links for people joining up, which is great.
To be clear,
is there anything else?
For those jumping in, just make sure if you can, make it possible to find the URL just vocally, because people on live stream won't be able to see what's going in chat. And so I believe offline to on, that's number 2, should have a link to the Slack channel that was shared, if I understood chat correctly.
Correct. I think that is the case. I'll make sure.
Cool. Great. But it's ecom-covid-response. That's the Slack channel name.
Yep, right. And I think there are several admins in there, so we're approving people as quickly as possible. There's an introductions channel. I think everyone is auto added to the introductions channel. Jump in there, and so far from what I've seen, the channels that are focused to getting the merchant requests digested and put in front of the right people. You get to make the mistake of having idle chit chat there once, and they'll jump all over you. So they're really trying to keep it just super sharp and efficient in the interest of getting things done as quickly as possible. And then I believe also I think there are some tech vendors. So people, one of the other things that's happening, like with Shopify, I know there are some gaps to fill in terms of maybe it's logistics or payments or something, and there are people working with vendors to make that happen. So people that provide this functionality. It's something at Magento, we're working internally on an initiative right now that I won't even get into because it's just a little premature. But basically it's a similar kind of theme where we're trying to make sure that we have all the right people at the table and they can speak as quickly as possible, just so that we can get merchants the help that they need.
Got it. Cool. Should we jump over to Adam next? I know you had mentioned in chat about talking about Save a Small Business.
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. Adam Groves here. Really love the intro and the work that the folks over at Offline On are doing. I'm personally in the Slack channel as well, and part of the whole group that's trying to bring things forward here. Karen, who started that initiative, she and I connected a few days back, and we've got a very similar mission and up to some really interesting things from a slightly different perspective. So I spent about 20 years or so working across a bunch of large agencies and consultancies. I run a small tech startup now. But a few days back or so, I had an amazing small business that I regularly frequent, and I saw their business owner put up a post saying, we're in trouble. We're still open. Please come by, continue to support our business. We're doing our best to not have to let go of the staff or close down our storefront, or even worse, declare bankruptcy. And immediately reached out just personally and said, hey, how can I help? I'm happy to set you up a Shopify store or a BigCommerce store or a Magento store, and kind of left things there. Over the next few hours, as I was, sort of stewing on some of that, I realized, there's tens, hundreds of thousands of these small businesses right now who really need our help. And in the same vein as, what Karen has really been beating the drum around, we've got to come together to save these small businesses. We've got to do something as an industry and as a collective around e-commerce to help bring these businesses online that haven't been there in the past, or that are dealing with the basics of how do I move an offline business to online? How do I get local delivery in place? What would I do if I wanted to actually have national fulfillment? So the effort that I've got underway is actually bringing together a bunch of the services companies. So whereas the Offline On has been focused on bringing together a bunch of the tech platforms, and together with some smaller agencies and different players who are interested in helping there, I've got it coming from the other angle. So I brought together the folks from Capgemini and Accenture and Sapient and Razorfish and PFS Web and Taos Digital and a bunch of very, very large consultancies and agencies And what we've been putting together is essentially the ability for business to reach out to us, say, hey, I need some help getting online, or I need some help activating my digital channel. We will offer up for free pro bono to help these businesses get online quickly, to launch their e-com capabilities, to extend their e-com capabilities as kind of one big bucket. We're also working on putting together call it a marketplace or a portal, but essentially, if all of these businesses are out there and need help, we as a collective, country need a place to go to and say, I want to support small business. I want to be part of this. How do I find a business that needs help? How do I go and donate to them? How do I go and shop from them? So sort of place to activate there. And then most importantly, and I hate to let the cat out of the bag too early, but this Wednesday, we're actually launching a pretty large initiative to help activate the country in an effort to really support small businesses. So a Save a Small Business initiative. We've got a bunch of PR and press kicking off around there, but trying to really focus on, I know somebody who needs some help. I am somebody who needs some help, and I'm somebody who wants to help. And how can we bring those pieces together as a collective industry and as a set of Americans who care about the future of this country? The last thing in the world that we'd want is to come out of this thing in 2-3 months from now and be left with nothing but big box retailers and chain restaurants. We've just got to do something to help.
Cool. So where do I go to, if I were a small business, to, I guess, reach you?
So our website will be live, and I hate to let the URL out of the bag just now, but I'll post into the chat. For now, we've got at least an email address in place at supportthesmallbusinesses@gmail.com. And we've got a couple of domains we're playing with and bringing live as we speak, but supportthesmallbusinesses@gmail.com. We'll go through to a pretty large collective of team that's working to support the initiative.
Cool. Well, this series of calls is planned to be a weekly series, at least initially. And what I think I will be doing at the beginning of each one is trying to announce any other COVID-related sites or information at the beginning of each episode. So feel free to contact me afterwards, and I'll get the link included in follow-up meetings as well. In terms of then, one thing I should also point out that was in the Slack channels, which I think was an astute observation, is not all businesses are going to be suited for going online, and the goal is to help them and help them succeed and not overwhelm them. And so I think it's all the people with the e-commerce experience should be using a bit of judgment. Don't just sort of say everybody should go online. Well, if they're not set up for it, it could actually be the reason they go under, which of course is the exact thing we're trying to avoid. And the other point is that you talked about America. Well, of course, we're interested in trying to help people around the world. Is offline to online focusing, this might be a question for you, Ben, is offline to online, offline on.com, is that focusing on US or is it international?
No, it's international. I think just reflecting the nature of the industry. Sure, there are countries or regions that have better representation than others, but so probably you would expect North America and Europe, also the UK, sorry, to be better represented, have more people familiar with the markets. But yeah, it really is about I think just again, based on where a lot of us are located and a lot of the businesses that are doing this work are located, that's why we have expertise in those areas. I mean, which doesn't mean if you're a merchant or a vendor in Asia, you shouldn't be involved. You absolutely should be. I think Karen did mention though that there are like 5 continents represented in there, and that probably is out of date. There may be 6 continents represented by now.
Cool.
So I have an open question before we jump to Patrick or the PWA stuff, and you, Alan. Sorry. I guess there's a lot of talk here about helping businesses move online, connecting to Shopify or like some Sapien Razorfish to help build out the site or things like that. In your experience, has the struggle been a lot with the digital side, or maybe even some of like the last mile stuff, right? Connecting with, making sure you have the right delivery and those kind of mechanisms, kind of to fully connect the offline and online bridge. Just open question to see what people are facing.
by open question, it means anybody with an opinion can share. And I think people at agencies who got in the front lines and they've done real sites, so agency opinions welcome.
You are meaning that if we talk about moving those brands that had a very big presence in offline and helping them go digital, or improving their presence in the online world?
Yeah, I'm just thinking kind of end to end. Let's say I was a local like hardware store that was shuttered, right? And my usual relationship with the patron is someone comes in store. So online is one thing, activation, but then also delivery of those goods and actually connecting to good in hand of the consumer. Just trying to see, you know, how does help across that full end-to-end journey look like? Because we've been talking a lot about the digital side right now.
Yeah. So basically, what we did, I think a lot of agencies. I'm from Divante, based in Poland. We went into kind of war mode. So for the past week, we've been working like 12, 14 hours, talking with a lot of merchants, not only here in Poland, but also clients, for example, Tallywhale, that have almost 800 offline stores across Europe, and most of them, almost 300 in Italy. So we're asking them how they are dealing and what they did. And we created a list of very down-to-earth and practical quick wins. So even asking them a question, hey guys, did you put out and printed out the piece of paper? Did you put it on your door saying, hey, our store is closed because of coronavirus? We are taking care of our employees. We are taking care of you. Hey, but we do have an online store. You can buy it here, giving out the link, putting on the QR code. The next thing that we are advising our clients to do, to emphasize on the customer journey and explaining them how these goods will be delivered, saying, hey, in these times, we do not accept cash on delivery. We only accept upfront payments. Your goods will be delivered on your door. We will knock on your door and we will leave. Our couriers are having gloves. There is absolutely contactless delivery. We are also making, especially in the fashion industry, we are advising our clients to run a lot of campaigns based on the vouchers, meaning you can buy a voucher right now for the collection that will come in the summer or autumn for the specific amount of money, but you will be able to buy the goods on the discount rate. So there are a lot of other things that we are emphasizing them to do, making sure that those people can move easily from offline to online, and also thinking of the ways on how we can explain this to the end client. Because you know what's happening right now, people are sitting at home, and usually there was a cash flow going around in the economy, and it's not like, you know, we are all sitting at home burning money on the fire and it's gone. It's there in our pockets. So if the brands and the offline stores and the fashion retailers and all of the other industries that are affected, they can explain to their users, hey guys, like, we need the cash flow, and if you can give us the money now but you can spend it later, that's a great cause. The same happened on a lot of concerts, right? If you bought a ticket for the concert that was about to happen in April, don't return the ticket. Keep this, and we're gonna sign you up for the next concert available next time. But you have to let your users know that this is now possible, right? We've been working very close with the company Zadig and Voltaire. They are based on Magento, and because they implemented the PWA and they are right now in the headless architecture, they are able to adjust to this very quickly. They can implement a lot of third-party services. Right now, we are talking with them about having the live streams. It's actually, we found a very good report, and I have presentation about this on what happened in China. So in China, a lot of e-commerce went on live streaming. It was popular before, but during the COVID times, it went even more online. And I think this is missing a lot in Europe and in States. We are advising clients to sign on a lot of different streaming platforms. During the COVID times, a lot of streaming platforms are actually offering a lot of their services for free, so you can do it in a cheaper way. And then on the other side, imagine you have all of those employees that usually are in the store advising the clients what t-shirt to buy, what lenses to buy and stuff like that. Why not move them online? Why not run live streams presenting the t-shirts from inside the store? It's not like they cannot go into the store. They cannot have interaction of the people. So also we are advising our clients to do the delivery on the stock in the local market. So let's say if you are from, I don't know, Paris or you know, some other cities in Europe or even Chicago, and you have your offline store with a lot of goods in there, why don't you want to use your employees? Don't fire them, make them deliver locally. You don't have to even hire the additional courier that will do this. Most of your employees most likely have a driving license. They can do this. Just make sure that they are well equipped, they are wearing gloves, there is no cash, and they can do this on the spot. So make use of your employees that you have right now. Let them create content for your social media. I mean, so far, fashion, beauty industry, fitness industry, all of those products, they are based on influencers. If you had a lot of employees, like, you know, Taliway, we are talking thousands of people. If right now you can turn them into influencers of your own, if you can turn them into, you know, marketing people and let them create a lot of content for social media, that can boost your sales as well. So those are the very quick wins. I've shared the link on the chat as well, so you can see the whole presentation. There was a very specific the user journey, and this was based out of 50 calls with various merchants, and most of those merchants, they had more than 60 revenue coming from offline. So they lost the significant amount of revenues. And we know, for example, in Poland right now, the biggest offline retailers, they created a group asking the shopping galleries and malls to move the rent that they have to pay. So they are creating unions, trying to also force the government to put such restrictions, because right now also there are businesses that been around, like family businesses, very well-known brands that been on the market for 200 years, for example. They are risking going bankrupt, and this is really sad. Also, we created initiative called Tech to the Rescue, and this initiative is to help NGOs. I'm running away from e-commerce a little bit, but we are trying to combine all of the IT companies. Our industry was not affected as much as travel events, and there are a lot of NGOs that are not getting investments right now because investors are afraid to put the money out. So just economy of scale, if 1,000 companies could give 5 hours a week for free away to NGOs, we are talking about 5,000 development hours. And you guys are from development companies, you are developers yourself, you know very well how much can be done for 5,000 development hours. And this is 20,000 in a month. And this is only 1,000 companies, right? Magento itself, 350 partners. Salesforce, 250 partners. Google, I can't even count how many developers are in the community. If one developer from every single company would spend 1 hour a day, we are talking about the huge help we can provide to everyone worldwide.
Cool. Thank you very much for sharing that one. Was there any other projects from that you wanted to share, or did you manage to get them all in there? Patrick, was there any other projects that you wanted to share, or did you get through them all?
One was the Tech to the Rescue, and if there was no one else, I can quickly run you through the situation on the COVID, and also how I see the PWA solving it. It's basically 2 slides. I'm not gonna go into details because this presentation also includes the analysis of what happened in China, because China looks like they are getting out of this crisis right now, and then. I believe this will also happen in any other countries, both in States and in Europe. So if anyone else has something to say, feel free. Otherwise, I can jump in for 2 minutes and share the slide. Not a problem.
Anybody else want to jump in quickly? I think that's an excuse. Go for it, Patrick.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the introduction, and I basically, this is something I show to a lot of merchants I'm talking with those days. So obviously, people are experiencing massive social distancing, and this is putting our society by government worldwide. And shopping galleries, almost all of the retail stores are closed. We can see that everything excluding grocery and pharmacy, without e-commerce presence, most likely will go out of the market. And this is especially for small and medium businesses. And as it was said before, it would be very sad to see this happen, that after this whole crisis, we're gonna have only, I would say, big fish staying on. E-commerce is already experiencing a rapid growth in demand. Right now, the main issue is the logistic and supply chain. And this is why I mentioned using your own employees that usually work inside the store to make use of them for this logistic and supply unlocking. There is a need for quick implementation of new features, which is an issue in the huge monolithic architectures. And many e-commerce companies cannot handle the traffic loads, and therefore user experience is really low. So I'm not gonna, I have one slide that is extremely interesting. And so this is the pre-virus outbreak e-commerce retail was predicted to grow by 23.7%, right? And we can see that because of the e-commerce presence and the fact that people are kind of forced to do it, like thinking logically, we will have a lot of newcomers to the e-commerce market, right? People that before were quite skeptical, they preferred to go to offline store to buy something. Right now, they have no chance. So if they will end up on the e-com site that has a good user experience, they explained very well how the delivery will be handled. Afterwards, the whole process of delivering is providing the tracking link to the package and so on. It actually said that is expected to further accelerate the growth of e-commerce in China. So it will be probably much higher than they predicted. Here are some examples of what was happening in China as an opportunity for fashion brand, because if the word of crisis, I really like to talk about the opportunities. So we should also think positively of what can we get out of it. So sports brands conducted online sports courses because people are staying at home. So if you have a fitness brand or you're selling supplements, make use of your influencers and let them stream some home workouts. This can actually help a lot of people worldwide if you have this kind of reach, but also promote your brand. Fashion brands also expanded the e-commerce channels. So there is additional live broadcast to sell this. And obviously, right now, if you want to buy shoes or even the glasses, we could see a very big uplift in AR requests and how this can be implemented. So this is also a challenge. I'm challenging here right now developers and any AR companies that are seeing right now. If you have integration with Magento, BigCommerce, Shopify, any other e-commerce platforms, and this can be implemented relatively quickly. For the merchants, please contact whatever here somehow, because we believe that this is going to help a lot of people. They simply cannot try the shoes on right now, or the return will be very high. Here are some interesting facts of what's going on. I think the biggest point out that the e-commerce is really getting crazy is that Amazon is about to hire 1,000 more workers to give raises to the current staff to deal with the demand, right? And also another thing is that during crisis and situations like that, we are creating new habits, and those habits will stay with us after everything is finished. So when the epidemic is over, the people will continue to buy online, especially those that were kind of forced to try it for the first time. And here is the summary. E-commerce for many retailers is the only rescue boat at this moment. And there will be a lot of the newcomers and brands and online resellers could really take opportunity out of this. Merchants will most likely move away from expensive software, and open source will become the way to go. PWA has a huge impact on improving the user experience, and this is what brands should focus on right now if they want to, keep those newcomers. Because if someone will come to your e-commerce site and their experience will be really bad, most likely they will go to your competitor. PWA and especially headless architecture are giving merchants the ability to quickly react to changes and implement new features. Because of the approach of API first, you can integrate many third-party services, and one of those third-party services can be the AR possibility for your customers. And when the times will be better, a lot of the companies that lost of this and they didn't have enough e-commerce presence, most likely will invest heavily. So I believe a lot of e-commerce companies and agencies can make it as quite a big opportunity to help clients now, even reducing their rates a lot and making sure they can survive now. And I'm pretty sure those merchants will repay those guys later, because I strongly believe in karma. So I'm very happy of what's going on with Karen and the Slack channel, that everyone is here, and initiatives, as I said before, the tech rescue for NGOs. There are more than 100 companies in just 48 hours joining here. So that will be me. That will be it for me. If anyone has questions, please let me know.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing all that. Well, this is unashamedly a Google e-commerce office hours, so I thought I'd just wrap it up. Unless anybody else is going to throw in any other ones, throw them into the chat. Cheney will keep an eye on for me and make sure we don't miss you as well. But I did want to bring up two Google technologies. It's not really for programmers, so I was a little bit hesitant to bring it up. But since we're on this sort of topic, one of the things that struck me during these conversations, for example, was I particularly care about small businesses because I think they've got less buffer frequently. And if you try and do anything too advanced, they're probably not going to be able to succeed in doing it. And so like your comments about get your own store members just to run around locally and make local deliveries, that sounds like a very practical thing. The Google technology that came into my mind with that one is if you haven't heard of it, there's Google My Business. And what Google My Business allows you to do is to register your physical business locations. You can register office hours. You can get some simple information about your product up. That feeds into the Google Maps platform. And so, like, if you get yourself up in general Google search, it's probably not going to help you too much. You don't need to be found from another side of the world. Whereas getting yourself into the Maps platform helps people do more localized queries. And so, because you need to be able to get people to find you, you need to be able to, people are going to know you're alive. I'm going to lots of websites personally now, checking to see if the business is open on the website before I'll try contacting or try and organizing takeout from a restaurant. And so keeping that information up to date, I think, is worthwhile. And Google My Business is an app that goes with it, but it's a useful site, I think. Cheney, is there anything on Google My Business you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the huge one there is how hours have been, I guess, changing, right, for various towns and cities across the world. So just keeping hours up to date there has been a big one. Just because I've seen a lot of sites that have mismatches where the website is more up to date, but sometimes the website is more out of date than what's listed in Maps, and it's unclear. And I think reliability and having that belief, to Patrick's point, where you can think of this as an opportunity of like making the leap from an offline centered business to something that still supports e-commerce in the future, even after you regain offline. And I think this will only help. I know, Alan, you had another product that comes to mind. I'm going to throw in the third one that's kind of interesting, which is Google Sheets. The local coordination of coordinating your workforce, like time and time again, when these sort of crises kind of pop up, I see small businesses, NGOs, ultimately using Sheets in some shape or format to try to mobilize whatever physical resources that they have. And I think that's an interesting way of thinking about it too. But Alan, back to you.
Yeah, maybe
Thanks.
I would like to add, because this is something I forgot. We are also making sure that the clients are using Google Shopping. And also we got some questions if it is available on the store. When you go and check the certain store, now it says it's closed, but could we say, yes, it's closed, but you can buy online, or it's open online, you know? So we actually got questions from merchants if there is an option on Google to change from open or closed to open online.
That's an interesting one. On that note, there is a link for your kind of business. And so one pattern I've been seeing a lot of teams do is like, well, when you look up a business, you're unsure, what do? You go to the website to try to verify information. And oftentimes the landing page for whatever link is there doesn't have COVID specific information. To your point, like what is the virtual equivalent of that sheet on your door? Having something similar on whatever that destination is to connect the map, place point to your website would be critical so people understand what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to your question, but I've written that one down to go off and try and get an answer from the shopping team. The other one that I wanted to bring up though is possibly the obvious one, which is like you were talking about, like online streaming. And obviously Google's got YouTube, and you got streaming capabilities there, and it's actually been taking off a lot in China, and Amazon have been doing it, and others, and it seems pretty easy to do. Get your person in front, and like, what do you need to go online? Well, you just basically need like a laptop or something with a camera. You can stream the content up. It doesn't have to be super flashy, and to actually take orders, show them your phone number. That may be the quickest thing to actually get somebody online, because unless it's quick, like, I am not a infectious disease expert at all. But if you look back in history, these things do come to an end. Like, they go through a season, and we don't know how long the season is going to be. If it ends quicker than we expect, wonderful. But then if they're going too much and trying to do a 6-month plan to get online, it's sort of like a complete waste of time. And so trying to find out things that people can do really, really quickly. And one of the ones that sort of struck me is, well, why not just start streaming from your stores? Just get some information about your products up, get a phone number up, and say you're going to be doing deliveries. That would seem to be another useful thing to do now. Again, not really a developer topic, and I would like to keep this channel more on the developer, but it seemed in flavor of it.
Well,
cool.
I think one of the things, so this is one of the something I've seen consistently in the offline number 2 on Slack is people making sure that we keep our eye on the ball, right? And which is really just helping people as quickly as possible, recognizing that this is, this emergency, dire that it is bounded, will be bounded. And I think I've been doing probably a lot more reading than I have in a while. I came across an article, and I wish I could remember where or what. Someone was noting that pandemics throughout history have fundamentally changed the the world. The world after the pandemic is just, there's not a return to normalcy, right? There's not a regression to the baseline of what we had before. Things are different on the other side. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as we help people with the emergency at hand, to make sure that we and they are not over-indexing on the forces and the needs of right now. But if we want to take that a step further, we start to say, okay, what do we think? What do we expect this might look like? And of course, it's a bit premature to really know, but sort of with an eye towards, okay, knowing that an immediate fix is important, but a slightly like a medium term fix is probably also beneficial. How do we set people up for the success that they'll need, the kind of success they'll need in several months' time? So that is something that I hope everyone is remembering to just always ask themselves, and make sure that they have the right perspective as they're addressing the issues.
Yeah, I like the point about keeping your eyes on the ball. I think, in the past, it may have been difficult to activate certain parts of the demographic that might not be online first already, right? Because you could always have a more frictionless or more familiar alternative. Now that you're forced to use an online channel, it's worth revisiting some design decisions that you have made, some technical decisions that you may have made, because it was kind of geared and biased towards your data set of people who were online before. Ideally, we end up in a world where through this process, we've now onboarded people to online commerce that previously may have felt it wasn't worth their time to even investigate, right? But it might mean that from a design language standpoint, we design things in a little bit more obvious of a way, because we're dealing with users who haven't encountered some of these flows that we're used to kind of developing.
One of the other things I wanted to add to there, I think that's tremendously insightful. How is it going to affect some of the design language and interaction paradigms for people who have traditionally, shopped offline? I think there's also a really interesting need. I spoke to a small shop owner the other day who had stood up their own e-commerce site in 24 hours and sort of taking me through what it's been like to go from, I make X, Y, and Z. People show up in my store. Now I'm trying to figure out, how to spell Magento, or, what the Shopify thing is, or anything else. And she was kind of talking about it from her perspective and what that dauntingness looked like. But equally, so they moved online very quickly. They had a big ramp in their business. They were feeling like, great, we're going to save the day here. And then literally had to go and shut down their business. So almost a day and a half later, and not really having thought through the logistics. So now they had their back of the house staff who was starting to make product. They had the ability to sell it online. They were also keeping their, storefront open. And then they didn't have, workers who were willing to come in and man the storefront, or somebody that was willing to be able to, take the product and get it out the door. So there's a whole lot to the puzzle here, I think, in helping traditional businesses think about e-commerce as more than just, hanging the shingle, if you will. There's the operation side, there's the awareness side, and I think there's going to need to be a good collective that helps them think about, what does e-commerce mean more so than just a platform.
Yeah, I was thinking about return, for example. How do you make sure your staff are safe when you're getting returns? What practices should you be putting in place? Because you don't know where these boxes have been through. Any person who's going to be in contact with a large number of other people seem to me more at risk than somebody who's in contact with a small number of people. So interesting.
Sorry.
Go for it, Paul.
Oh, thanks. I was hoping that I could get a little bit better of maybe a more practical example of how streaming's being used. Is this through YouTube? You're suggesting people just have a webcam and open up a YouTube channel and just live stream, and so that people can visit their store directly on YouTube? Is that what we're talking about, or is there some other service I'm missing here?
No, that's what people are doing. And I remember seeing some like in India, because in India with multiple languages, it's often visual is often more easily received, and people talking is often more even received than writing. And so YouTube is quite popular in India. And so some stores, they dedicate a particular time of the day. They might not do it all day long, but they get up and they talk about products and they demonstrate it and they show it, and they start building up a following, because you can subscribe to it. And so when you go back online, people get notified and so forth. And that way you can share information about your products. And they didn't.
I suppose they could point you to a Hangout for more of like a one-to-one sales experience as well. Is that something you're seeing?
Well, they can, or they can simply have a phone number. Just get on a call and talk to them and take their credit card number over the phone. I mean, you can over-tech the solution sometimes. And if all you're trying to do is to get somebody online for the first time and be able to do something when they're doing nothing, if you introduce too much tech, I just worry about small businesses. They're not incredibly tech savvy. And so the simpler you can get it, the less steps they have to do. Personally, it feels like it may actually have more impact than trying to get too carried away.
it sounds like a great first step. I saw Sarek was saying he had some research on this. I'd love to hear about.
Hi, it's Patrick over here from Poland. I was actually doing with Patrick Friday and Aleksandra Dziewulska a report regarding some quick wins. And it really depends from the region, but in Europe, it's really very common to do Facebook streaming, especially that small, medium, and large businesses. They have quite a lot of likes and followers on their website. They live stream of like, it's called like resale. So sort of they talk about the products, the sizes, what kind of sizes they have. And they show the products on models. And with this, it's actually everyone who's in the community, like their profile and like the sort of brand, they see that they are online and they sort of comment on sizes that they like this and this purchase in this size. So it's actually a lot of brands and sort of people that are showing the products. They actually write it down, who is actually liking the product, what kind of size, confirming them online. And it's actually really good sort of content, because they interact with the customers. They show what kind of products they have, what kind of sizes. They write it down, the orders, and they contact with them online on the Messenger that, oh, you bought this purchase, just pay it online and we're going to send it to you. And in Europe, it's really popular. And if all the brands would launch it, like we spoke with one brand that is like luxury brand on jewelry today, and they said, oh, we have 5 people in marketing. And I said, no, you have 600 people in marketing, because now 200 of your shops that you have offline are closed. So all those people really can stream sort of what kind of products you have in the region, all the friends, all the people that you know, everyone who's actually love the brand, they can engage, because they sit at home and they don't have anything better to do. So it's really popular in Europe. I don't know how about US and like Asia is booming. It's booming at this time. So I think, when I look on the predictions, so like we have reports from Asia learning from the history when there was a SARS epidemic from it was 2003, February, it went everything down. It was really rough time. But then after 4-6 months, it went just back on track. So whoever is investing in, keeping all the engagement online with all the contacts that, like retail shops, they have contact online, they have email, they have text messages, numbers. Engage those people, bring them online, advise, and, go through them, advise what they can do online. I think the best time is for them to really push this forward. That's sort of what we learn, what we see.
Well, I want to be respectful of people's times. We've gone for an hour, so we've reached the end of our time. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining in on the conversation. I think it's been very interesting for me as well, just hearing what other projects. Just to be clear, in subsequent weeks, the plan for this channel is really to be more about answering questions around Google technologies, web technologies, and so forth. So this is not going to be a typical episode, but we'll see. If people are more interested to hear more of these things, we may do more. But I just wanted to thank you all very much for attending. Cheney, is there any last words you wanted to have?
No, this is great conversation. Thanks for everyone doing great work and volunteering your time too. All this is like extra projects people are doing on top of the stuff they do. So thank you all as a community.
Thanks for participating.
Fantastic effort.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.